Hi guys, welcome to Finish Awesome Fridays. Today we just want to start discussions on training at UPeak Performance and how we protect the train and how we set you up right from the beginning, okay? So the 3 layers of awesome, training foundations, okay? These are things like in the nutrition where if you do them daily or as consistently as you can, you'll start building up those foundational skills and get those sort of the fundamentals right so that you can start building towards more advanced techniques and more advanced things to do from there. Okay, so there are just so happens to be 3 things that you're going to work in with your training, okay? And that's just how it goes, as I said, with my 3 layers of awesome. So what are those 3 levels, okay? Everything we do from very basic up to the very advanced covers 3 particular areas within the strength and conditioning realm, okay? You've got mobility or movement, okay? You have strength, and then you have metabolic power, okay? We call it metabolic power, people might call it metabolic conditioning. So, you know, whatever, you know, anyone says, you know, but we call it metabolic power here, okay? And I'll go on to explain that in a couple of minutes. So the 3 areas that we want to concentrate on, we want to be as basic as we can. We want to make sure that we're getting these done as frequently as we can. And the more frequently you do them, obviously, the better the results you can expect. So what we're looking at. So the very first thing we want to start off with, mobility. Okay, mobility is obviously the ability to move. Basically, that's what we're looking to do. Move better, getting the joints in the full range of motion that they're actually designed to be in. Okay, so as you've seen from videos that we've done on Movement Monday, you know, we want to make sure that we are getting the correct positions in terms of the hips, in terms of your knees, in terms of your ankles, in terms of your shoulders, all these problem areas, because when you can move better, obviously when it comes to doing more advanced stuff and going forward from here, you know, you're going to be able to do it without risk of injury, okay? So what we're looking to do, 3 to 7 days a week, okay? If you're starting off at 3 days a week, that's absolutely perfect. Anything less than that, I would say, you're not really going to get the benefit out of it. You know, it's better than doing nothing, but I would say 3 times a week should be a minimum you should be trying to do it. So, so what you want to be looking at doing is working on the problem areas, okay? You will find that this will probably take you about 10 to 15 minutes to work through, depending how many areas you work on. As I said before, when you did the couch stretch, for example, and things like that, you're normally looking about 2 minutes each side, okay, if you're doing singular movements, or if it's a double movement, you know, about 2 minutes on there. So it's going to be roughly 2 minutes a piece, and the more things you add in, you know, obviously the more time it's going to be. So work on your problem areas. You've got 4 main areas that I would say that most people are going to be tight in and they're going to have less mobility in, okay? So the shoulders and pecs, okay? You're pushing muscles, okay? So wherever you're basically reaching overhead or reaching away, you may find you have tightness around these areas from here, okay? So things that are going to get you sort of stretching out those positions is going to be good. I hopefully through the Movement Mondays be showing you more and more mobility work, so we'll start going through the shoulders and sort of upper body, because it is a problem area for a lot of people where you're sitting down all day, forward shoulders, okay, they're hunched over, rounding the shoulders from there, okay. What you want to make sure is your mobility is opening up those positions. The hips, obviously, from sitting down, so the hip flexors get nice and tight, so the couch stretch that we do opens out those hips. So you want to make sure you're working on those, but also working them in different positions as well. The hamstrings, sitting down all day, normally predominantly in men, they have very, very tight hamstrings, which means that you can't actually reach down, touch the toes, you can't really get into very good positions from there. So that is very important to get those nicely loose, because if they're super tight, then obviously what happens, if you haven't got very strong glutes and you've got super tight hamstrings, guess what happens with that lower back? Okay, that's going to take on all the stability and mobility that it needs to actually get from the hips and from the glutes and everything else from there. And that's why a lot of people then get real tight and sore lower backs, okay, because they can't activate or utilize the mobility or activate the right muscles in that area. Okay, so lats are the last one from there, and the lats, much like with the shoulder, is more to do with sort of overhead reaching and getting the right positions from there. Obviously, the tighter the lats are, the more they're going to internally rotate and pull you inside, okay, and you won't be able to get yourself overhead. So when you're doing pressing or holding overhead, when you do overhead squats, obviously that's going to be a massive problem area from there. So these 4 areas are the main areas you want to work on in terms of mobility. Now if you're spending say 2 minutes each side, 4 minutes at a go, you're looking at around about 16 minutes if you were to hit all those areas with 2 minutes each side. Okay, so that's it. If you don't think you've got time during the day to do that, then obviously just get up 15 minutes earlier. You know, it's easier said than done, you say, Kevin, but that is what it takes, okay? If you get up 15 minutes earlier, then instead of hitting the snooze button and get up instead, you'll find you can get that mobility drill done first thing in the morning. It wakes you up, it gets you moving, it makes you feel much better, and it's going to be much more beneficial for you in the future. If you can do it every single day, 7 days a week, then absolutely fantastic. You will find you'll probably have no problem areas. After a few weeks, you'll open up and you'll be feeling much better straight away. But if you can do it at least 3 times a week, I would say that would make just as much of a difference in terms of just making you feel much better in terms of those problem areas. You've got sore hips, lower back, upper back, shoulders, anything like that. You should feel much better after a few weeks of doing it 3 to 7 times a week. Okay, you can vary it as well, so you don't have to do the same movements each time. Each time you do it, if you pick a different movement and pick a different mobility drill, it's going to be great from there. The only thing I would say at the very basic level, on the foundation level, is keep it simple. Okay, don't go for dynamic effort or dynamic movement or dynamic warm-ups when you don't really need to at this stage. At this stage, you can do static stretching and just keeping in those positions nice and simple, and that's going to be more beneficial in the long run. Okay. So once mobility is done, we then move on to the next area, which is your strength work. Okay. The 4 pillars of movement that I might have discussed before with you, okay? You've got 4 areas that you should be working and strengthening as much as you can, okay? So we're looking at push and pull is number 1. Anything where you're pushing something away from you or pulling something towards you. Now, I will never program someone anything where they're pushing something away and they're not pulling something towards them, okay? You want to balance that shoulder girdle out. So every push you put into your workout, you should pull with equal measure, okay? If not more so for some people, okay? So you want to make sure you're always putting those together. I don't separate them as 2 separate movements. They are a push and pull, okay? So you're always doing a pull after you've done a push. Raising the center of mass, okay? So anything really where you're utilizing the lower body and the center of mass is going up and down. So you can obviously talk about squats, deadlifts, lunges, step ups, anything where you're going to be basically moving up the weight up and down is generally going to be the movement you would use in there, okay? So that'll cover most of the lower body stuff. Rotation, you're then looking at things like swinging, okay? Rotation in terms of just moving the body around, okay? So you could do sort of weighted Russian twists, any sort of striking, okay? So if you're doing punches or anything like that, again, that's rotating the body and moving it around, okay? Anti-rotations are good as well. So this is where you might throw in things like the pull-off press, where the tension's coming aside and you're fighting against the body, turning to the side and utilizing the pull-off press from there. But again, these are exercises and stuff you can look up and things that we'll talk about in the future. But that's something that is intrinsic to your training. You must add some form of rotation in there as well. And then locomotion, okay? Locomotion will mostly come into your metabolic power stuff, so you don't generally have to worry about it within your strength work, but it should be something that you're looking to strengthen. So things like walking lunges, bear crawls, things like that. Strengthening can just mean just as much about endurance as it does mean about strength, okay? Strength endurance obviously is the ability to be able to do something over a long period of time, okay? So if you're obviously just getting strong and doing 3 to 5 rep maxes, that's great. But you also want to make sure you're starting to work in those elements where you're stabilizing and strengthening areas like the core, like the shoulder girdle, like the hips, because you want to start building that strength up in those areas as well, okay? So they're your 4 pillars of movement. So that's what you'll make sure you're doing each day. So in terms of what you'll do, in terms of how you program it, I would always start off with things like the starting strength with Mark Rippetoe. Fantastic method of training, okay? So if you were to say, I'm going to do a barbell row and a bench press, I'm going to do some squats, and then I'm going to throw in some Russian twists and maybe some walking lunges, okay, into my workout. That'll be a nice strength piece to do all in one. You don't have to do it in a circuit. You could do it 1 exercise at a time, whatever you want to do, okay? But if you did that and you did the main strength movements for 5x5 and then the other movements, the Russian twists, say, and the walking lunges for 5x10, then that's a perfect strength program right there. It's not gonna, there's no magic anything from that. You do 5 sets of 5. If you can do 5 sets of 5, the next week you add 2.5 kilos to the bar and you keep doing that in a linear fashion until you can't do it anymore. Nothing simpler than the linear progression in terms of that. So look those things up if you want to go from there, or if you want to start training with us and you've never trained before, then we'll get you started with that anyway, because that is going to be the best, most fundamental thing for you to do to get stronger, okay? That's your strength covered as well. So you've got more mobile. You're doing 3 to 7 days a week of mobility, okay? 15 minutes. You're then coming in. You're doing some strength work, okay? So you're getting stronger. You might have to do that 2 to 3 times a week. Boom, that's going great. Metabolic power is the last thing we're going to work on, okay? So basically you want to make sure the first thing's covered before you start on that next thing. Once you've then covered that thing, then you can start working on the last thing, okay? So I wouldn't jump into metabolic power first without making sure you've checked off your mobility and you're getting stronger, okay? Those 2 things should be paramount. They build that base going towards the last thing. Now, metabolic power, muscle and conditioning, okay? That's where you've got to think of metabolic power. So, whether you want to build muscle or whether you want to be fitter, this is the area in which you really start pushing the envelope on there. Now for the foundation level, okay, as I say, when we move on to other levels, we can go a bit more advanced than this. You want to make sure that you do 3 things within this zone, okay? You want to make sure that it's short, okay? You don't want to throw in long conditioning pieces. You don't want to do massive endurance pieces. You want to make sure they're short, sharp and powerful, okay? That there are majority of assistance work goes into here, okay? So you're not going to generally do much of the big strength movements, okay? I would do more things with more things with kettlebells, dumbbells and body weight at this stage, because you want to start, you know, bringing that into the workout. And they should all be fairly low skill, so it should be something that you should be able to do already, or something that you can do fairly easily. I wouldn't say you want to find the conditioning piece easy, but you want to be able to do the movement, say, for at least sort of 10 reps before you can start, you know, trying to crush it within there. Now, how I like to work it, obviously metabolic power circuit. So I like to work in circuits when I do my metabolic power. It just means that I can get more done in a shorter amount of time, and it means I can hit all these little envelopes at once. So for example, I could just give you an example now. Say we did, you know, 10 goblet squats, 10 push-ups, and 10 calories on a rower, okay? There's 3 items there. You've got a conditioning piece, you've got a gymnastics piece, and you've got a weighted piece, okay? And they're all low skill. I know I can do push-ups, I know I can do goblet squats, I know I can row in a rowing machine, okay? So I can push the envelope, and then I can say, right, I'm gonna do that for 5 rounds, okay? There you go. That is a metabolic power conditioning piece from there, okay? So if that should take me probably anywhere between sort of 5 to 10 minutes, okay, so depending how fast you can go through those 3 movements, depends how obviously quick you get it done, but I know it's going to take me about 5 to 10 minutes. Boom, it ticks all those boxes. I'm getting fitter because my lungs going to be working hard after the rowing machine, and then getting up and going straight to squats, and then going down and straight into my push-ups. I'm going to work the muscles, working the strength endurance and working the hypertrophy zones, because I'm working about 10 reps, okay, working at that higher point, and it's obviously going to have good effects on fat loss as well as the muscle growth, okay? So that is where, you know, that's a nice quick example of what you can do in the metabolic power zone to start your fitness goals and get you into the position from there, okay? It doesn't mean you don't do this, okay, before you know, I would say you want to try and do all of these, you know, 2 to 3 times a week, but you know, it's important, if you only have time to, obviously start with mobility, and then if you can build in some strength work, then great. And if you've got time to throw in some metabolic power work, then you take it from there. Now with the efficient strength system, this is a sales pitch. I know how I can get this all done within a 30-minute period and periodize it so you guys are getting stronger, fitter and leaner, okay? If you don't understand how to do that, then obviously get in contact with me and I can help you out and start you getting right direction and start programming you so you can start seeing how to do it yourself, okay, in the future. Okay, so that is the major important thing from the foundation levels. For the next level, for the structure level, we'll go a little bit more into detail now into these ones, and we'll start building in sort of more advanced techniques, okay, and that's what we'll start discussing is the next stage. But from a very basic level, 2 to 3 times a week, if you're hitting your mobility, okay, you're doing your strength work in very basic movements, building it and getting stronger each week, and then you're throwing in short conditioning pieces at the end, that is going to be enough transform your body and to feel better, okay? We don't only believe that at UP Performance. Obviously Real Fit Centre, the place I work, it's a big part of their programming here, so it's another great place to come, and that's why I work here and I believe in the system so much. You know, it's all very basic stuff, building you up to more advanced stuff in the future, okay? So they hit all these markers, they hit the mobility, you get some strength work, you do some conditioning work, and if you're doing that 2 to 3 times a week, you'll start getting the results that you want, okay guys? You start getting those good results right from the start. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed that, guys. Next week, we'll start talking structure and we'll start going more into details from there. Any questions, let me know. Just be awesome. Have a great weekend. I'll see you guys soon.